Hello, and welcome to the So You Want to Be a Marine Biologist podcast, where we learn about the ocean, share sea stories, and explore ocean careers. I'm your host, Kara Muzia. Let's dive into today's episode. Hey, do you want to help the oceans? Have you considered a career in marine biology, but maybe just aren't sure where to start? Head on over to my website, marinebio.life, and subscribe to my newsletter. When you subscribe, you'll receive a free PDF download where you'll learn the 7 steps to becoming a marine biologist without the degree. This episode is brought to you by you. Thank you to those of you who have become patrons of the So You Want to Be a Marine Biologist podcast. For less than the cost of a dive tank refill or a cup of coffee, you can help keep the podcast episodes coming. There's also some fun bonuses for patrons, so be sure to check those out at patreon.com/marinebio.life. That's patreon.com/marinebio.life. Hello, mermaids, pirates, ocean lovers, and land lubbers. Welcome to today's show. Question: where do sharks go for vacation? Finland. What does a blue whale do on a date? Netflix and krill. My guest today is Finnish sailor, marine scientist, and science communicator Annukka Pekkarinen. What I love about my conversation with Annukka is how much the ocean has influenced her life. I learned so much about what the ocean is in Scandinavian countries and what it really looks like, complete with archipelagos and lots of opportunities for connecting to places that are relatively untouched by humans. We also chat about Annukka's PhD research studying pygmy blue whales. Don't worry, they're still huge, and how her research evolved and how she evolved from her research. It's a really fun conversation, and I hope you enjoy it as much as I did. Here's Annukka. Annukka, welcome to the So You Want to Be a Marine Biologist podcast. I am so excited to chat with you today.
Oh, I'm excited to be here. Thank you for the invite.
Yeah. So you are calling from Finland, which is really fun. And you grew up in Finland, correct?
Yes, I did.
What was it like growing up in Finland, and how did you get into marine science, or how did the ocean spark that curiosity for you?
Yeah, so when I was growing up, I grew up in a coastal area, and my parents never really had an own boat, apart from maybe a small rowing boat at our summer house by the lake. But I started sailing at these summer camps that were organized in my community. So there were these really beautiful little sailing boats to take children out. You know, we sailed during the day and went on one of the islands in the evenings, set up a tent and cook some food. And that's really how I got into the marine life somehow. That's how it started.
That sounds so idyllic.
It was extremely idyllic, I would say.
So did you know when you were going into university that you wanted to study marine science, or was it something that you kind of figured out while you were in school?
Yeah, I kind of figured it out along the way. I started studying biology, and we had the first year to decide which specialty we wanted to focus on. And I would definitely say that the sailing experience that I had, and also some nice examples from the crew, I think at best we had something like 4 marine biologists in this same sailing crew. So it was really something that it was interesting, and maybe I a little bit looked up to these people who I was sailing with, and everything that they studied and were interested in seemed so nice and cool. So that's how I ended up there as well.
Yeah. Okay, so I guess let's back up a second. You said there's crew on the boats. I was picturing like you were sailing around like smaller boats with maybe your family, but you were actually on like bigger boats with like a sizable crew when you were sailing around in your childhood?
Yeah, well, actually, yeah, the first boat was a little bit bigger one. So there was a crew of maybe 2 professional crew members, and then sort of younger deckhand type of crew members in addition to it. And the smaller boats that we were sailing with, we always, of course, had professional crew with, because we were sailing with children who might be 6 years old or something. So it's good to have some adults who know what they're doing.
Yeah, that's really interesting. So
I learned to sail in college, but my husband grew up sailing. My husband grew up sailing on the Great Lakes here in the States, and he didn't really like travel. Well, he did some overnights when he was older, but it was mostly like smaller boats when he was younger, and that he would, go out with maybe one adult and then sail around by himself. And then his family had a larger boat that they would race on and just do like day trips. So, but it was all just like family members. There was no like professional crew that would come out and like help take a family around. So kind of what you're describing is more like a cruise almost.
Yeah, in a way, like an archipelago cruise. But of course, these smaller boats that we were doing it with, they are maybe 12 meters long and they are open boats. So there's no indoor space at all.
Okay.
They were kind of traditional archipelago boats. They were used originally for fishing and maybe transporting some sheep and cows between the islands.
Okay.
So they were like work boats. And now we were using them for this kind of summer camp activities. So, we had good raincoats and we were sitting on the deck all day.
Oh, that's so funny. Okay, so you were like really excited to get to land to be able to like put up a tent and get into some shelter because there was no shelter on the boat.
Yeah, I suppose on the rainiest days we also had this like massive big tents that we could set up so that all 12 of us could go into one tent and just take a nap or something.
Yeah. Wow, that's kind of wild for me to think about because I just picture Finland, and even in your summers, I imagine it's like not exactly warm. So I'm picturing you guys like very bundled while you're doing these archipelago cruises.
Well, yeah, I mean, it is, the summertime can be quite warm, and well, unfortunately it's also getting warmer, it seems, every summer. But yeah, I would say that it's quite comfortable. And really the Finnish archipelago it's so nice for summertime sailing because there's thousands of islands and you can just cruise around and go to some island that you like. and so there's lots to see.
Yeah. So you said you had some of the crew that you went out with were marine biologists. Were they studying something while you were on the boats with them, or were you just kind of talking stories with them and learning more about what they did?
Yeah, no, we didn't do any science on the way, but of course, if you study the subject, if you're a biologist, then you are going to be paying attention to the environment in a little bit different way. So of course, just to know a bit of the birds and the animals that we saw on the way, I definitely thought that it gave something to these trips.
Yeah, very cool. So that you brought that back into college or university, and that's what kind of shifted your focus and narrowed it down into the marine science realm a little bit more. Was there a particular class that you really enjoyed in university that like made you be like, yes, this is definitely what I want to do?
Hey, Kara here. I hear it all the time. How do I become a marine biologist? Or my niece wants to help the ocean. Where does she even start? I hear from students, yes, and also nurses, HR professionals, and other mid-career folks who wonder if they could still make their dream of working with sea turtles or sharks come true, wondering if it's too late to answer the ocean's call. Here's what I've learned after 20 years in the field and hundreds of interviews. There's no straight line, no magic degree, and no gatekeeper. You create the path forward. If this sounds overwhelming and vague, I've created 2 tools to help you stop wondering what if and start moving forward with clarity and purpose. The first is my free guide, Be a Marine Biologist Without the Degree. Over 1,000 people have already downloaded this guide and taken their first step towards ocean impact. Inside, you'll find 7 concrete, doable actions to help you get started, whether you're just exploring or ready to make a change. Then there's the Ocean Blueprint. This is a 30-day self-paced course that helps you build your unique path into ocean science and conservation without quitting your job or going back to school. Inside the Ocean Blueprint, you'll get daily prompts to explore your interests, skills, and next steps, a structure that turns overwhelm into real momentum, and a bonus section to root your work into ocean connection. You don't have to wait for a degree, a perfect plan, or permission. Whether you're wading in or ready to take the deep dive, these tools are here to help you move from dreaming to doing. The ocean called. Are you ready to answer? Links in the show notes and on my website, karagracemuzia.com. I can't wait to see the waves you'll make.
Yeah, of course, this field courses of being able to be out there on the water and snorkeling, even though of course the Finnish water is not really very warm, and the visibility is quite bad at places. So the snorkeling, it's not like in the marine biology documentaries where you have these colorful fishes and going around enjoying the beautiful environment. But of course the environment is beautiful, but it's very different. It's Nordic, Scandinavian marine nature.
So what are some of the things that you see?
I would say that my favorite thing was to snorkel around in some areas where there was this like bladder wrack zones, because these are, there's a lot of life there. There's little fishes and all kinds of little animals that grow on top of these bladder racks, and the color is beautiful. I think. Yeah.
Wait, what is it? I don't think I've heard of this.
Bladder wrack. It's kind of what is it called in English? Like
bladder rock?
Yeah, like fucus algae. This kind of
okay,
brown algae.
Like a brown algae. Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, very cool.
Yeah, I like those because Baltic Sea is a brackish water area. So some people think that it's actually just a big lake. Of course, it has this connection to the ocean. So there's some salty water coming in from the ocean, and then fresh water from on land, and it's a mixture.
Right.
And I really somehow got excited about the big oceans. I wanted to experience the salty water and see all these big marine animals and, and all that. So I decided after finishing my bachelor's in Finland that I wanted to go to Iceland to do my master's.
Okay.
Experience the big ocean.
Yeah. So what was that like getting your master's in Iceland, and what did you study?
I studied something called the coastal and marine management. So it was, and I thought that was really nice. It was a combination of different fields. There was marine biology, but also this human aspect and social sciences and everything really that has to do with living in the coastal area. And I thought it was the nicest thing about it that we had people from so many different backgrounds. Not everybody was a marine biologist, although of course we had a lot of scientists, but we had a lot of people who, for example, had studied, I don't know, let's say economics, but then they decided that but I really like marine science, so I would like to, head that way. And so then they ended up in Iceland in this master's program where you could combine these different areas of interest.
Yeah, so it's coastal marine management essentially. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I really like that because it combines, coastal is where the sea meets the land, right? And you just have so much happening there in nature. There's just different environments happening, but then also it's where humans kind of meet the wild sea, and our interactions with it are kind of at a peak or in these coastal areas. So yeah, you're right. Like economics would come into play. Tourism is that's the height of it. There's just so many different factors looking into it rather than just pure oceanic science, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And also what was really nice about the program that we had people also from different parts of the world. So we had a lot of North Americans from the USA and Canada, and then different parts of Europe.
What university was this?
It's called the University Center of the Westfjords.
Okay.
University of Akureyri is the bigger university that is part of, but it is located in Ísafjörður in Iceland, which is incidentally my husband's hometown.
Is that how you met?
No, No. Interestingly enough, so I lived there for one whole year, and it is a tiny, tiny little town. It's 3,000 people. We managed to somehow not meet.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So we met in completely different town many years later. I realized that we both lived in the same town.
You lived in the same town at the same time and you never met. That's so funny. I think there's something to be said for timing, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So when you completed your master's, did you know that you wanted to continue on and do your PhD?
No, I would say that I was kind of grabbing the opportunity when it came on the way. So I was really lucky to get offered jobs almost. My first job that I got was kind of through some recommendation, and it was really lucky for me because I had recently graduated, and
right.
I was actually in Iceland, and then I moved to Finland to work for 4 months, and then I got another job from Sweden, so I moved there. So
all over Scandinavia.
Yeah. And this was, of course, I mean, it's good to be in a life situation where you can simply pack your bag and move when you get some kind of offer.
Right. Yeah. Early life situation for sure.
Yeah.
So what kind of job offers, or what were these jobs that you were getting right after graduating with your master's with this degree in coastal management?
So my first job that I got right after graduation was in a university called Åbo Academy in the marine biology department. Okay. We were doing a project about the eutrophication problem in the Baltic Sea. So I was doing some project coordination and scientific communication related to ending of a big, long 3-year project related to this research. And from there, I then continued to Sweden, where I got also a researcher, marine biology related job in World Maritime University. And that was really, really my kind of a dream job. And I suppose that's how I ended up there. So I was in Iceland on a marine mammal field course, and there was random selection of people who were really interested in whales, and there was this participant there who told me about this World Maritime University, what they did there. They had this maritime environmental research group, and I immediately told him that, like, wow, that is my dream job that combines ships and shipping and marine biology and everything somehow that I was interested in. And I think even a few years after, he remembered that I had said that. So when they had an opening, he said that, hey, have you seen this? Maybe you should apply.
Oh, that's so awesome. So I really like that. So you have this connection, and you made this connection, during your undergrad in university?
Yeah.
Okay. So you made this connection, and then you got your master's and you got a job, and then he remembered this, and a couple years later he's like, hey, I actually have this opening. So it just goes to show you the power of networks, because otherwise were you constantly checking this World Maritime University job board, or was it just kind of I feel like a lot of positions aren't even published, right? They're just I know this person that could fill it, right?
Yeah, I definitely wouldn't have found this if I hadn't met him. And I just thought that it was such a good fit.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about what you were doing there.
Yeah, there was lots of different kinds of projects. I was working a little bit with invasive species.
What kind of invasive species do you have up there? We have everything in Florida, so I'm just other places that are cold have it too. Cool. What do you got?
We have all kinds of invasive species. Of course, brackish water, it's not the easiest environment for the species to survive, because it is really, it's species that have specialized to this area, to this kind of salinity conditions over a long period of time. But then again, because it is a vulnerable ecosystem, so if there is a species that comes from some other part of the world and is able to actually manage to survive in the brackish water conditions, it can be really detrimental.
Yeah. Do you have clams or other bivalves that kind of survive in those conditions, or is it a fish?
It's benthic animals and some crustaceans. I don't think there's many fish species that could actually move like that.
Yeah. So things that live on the bottom, like crabs.
Yeah. And,
okay. What was your day-to-day like with this job that was like your dream job?
Yeah, so I was building a database on these invasive species, going through hundreds of scientific publications and writing down the species information. Then eventually I came by my PhD project, which was about whales, marine mammals. That was really what I was doing there, I would say, most of the time for the years that I spent in that university. So it was a project researching the Pygmy blue whales in the south coast of Sri Lanka. So nowhere near of Sweden, really. But this was really an interesting area because there's a small population of blue whales, which seems to inhabit the south coast of Sri Lanka year-round. So these kind of big marine mammals, blue whales and other large marine mammals, they are quite often migratory species, but it seems that there is this one population of blue whales which is actually present on the coast of Sri Lanka year-round. And so we were recording the blue whales and trying to establish if there was any seasonal change in how were they present on the south coast.
Amazing. So this is your PhD project. Did you get to go to Sri Lanka and film these guys?
I did.
Okay. So when you say like you're recording them, like, are you out on boats? Are you using airplanes to kind of try to find them, or helicopters?
Yeah, we went up on boats and we had these hydrophones that we were using.
You used acoustics to try to locate them.
Yeah.
Cool. That's awesome.
Yeah, I think, marine mammal sounds, they are really, really something.
So you flew from Sweden to Sri Lanka. How long were these like field expeditions? Kind of what did that look like? Would you walk me through that?
Yeah, so I would stay there for a couple of weeks at a time, maybe 3 weeks. And we had these hydrophones. We would launch and then we would leave them to record the whales and come back after a few months and get them up and download the data.
Okay. Did you see them while you were there?
The blue whales?
Yes.
Yeah. So Sri Lanka is one of the rare places in the world also where the blue whales come so close to the coast so regularly that there's quite nice whale watching of blue whales. It's almost guaranteed at certain seasons that if you go out, you will see a blue whale.
Oh my gosh. That is so cool.
It is quite incredible. There's not that many places in the world where the blue whales are that close and somehow that accessible.
Right. Yeah. So for listeners, the blue whale is the biggest animal on the planet. Ocean or on land. And it's like bigger than, I think, almost all the dinosaurs. Like it's an enormous creature. And it just goes to show you how big the ocean is because they're hard to find. Except apparently in Sri Lanka. That's amazing.
It is that's the thing that, and I think it's a little bit almost unfair that this particular species or the subspecies Pygmy blue whale is actually called the Pygmy blue whale when it is the largest mammal that has ever lived on the planet.
So, okay, yeah, you did say pygmy. So what does a pygmy blue whale mean? Like when I think pygmy whale, I think like maybe a 10-foot whale, but I know pygmy blue whales are not 10 feet long. I'm sure they're way bigger than that.
Yeah, I think the largest blue whale that has been reported was something like 33 meters long. It was in the whaling era.
Right. So that's over 90 feet.
So they are maybe something between 22 to 24 meters.
All right. So that's still over 60 feet. That's a huge animal.
It is.
That is amazing. Very cool. Now, were you able to get close to them, or are you just kind of like watching them from the boat and you can kind of see some flukes popping up in the spouts?
Yeah, so you could see the spouts and usually a little bit of the back in a way. that's the thing, how you see that the whale is really big. It's a little bit like, I don't know, like imagine a train coming to a station that it just kind of continues and continues and continues. Even if you see just a small bit of the whale on the surface, you still realize how big it is because it just seems to continue forever. And then, it's kind of arching its back a little bit on the surface. And then when they dive, you can see the flukes quite often with these pygmy blue whales. So there's also an interesting difference between the northern blue whales and the southern hemisphere blue whales, that it seems that in the south they show their flukes more than in the north.
Oh, interesting. So they have little behavioral characteristics that are a little different.
Yeah, they dive differently.
They dive differently. Yeah.
And they speak different language.
Yeah. So tell me about that. You were recording, so you used a hydrophone, which is just an underwater microphone, and you launched it. You would let it soak for like 3 weeks, right? So you're like recording, you come back and get your hydrophone and you're listening to it. Now, I would imagine that blue whales sound completely different from any other marine mammal, whales included, in the area. Can you pick out individuals in the blue whales as well, or different families?
You can pick out the different populations. You talk about these acoustic types. So, for example, the blue whales that are in Australia, they have a certain acoustic type. They have a call that is different from the blue whales in Sri Lanka, and it's different from the blue whales in Madagascar, and it's different from the blue whales that are around Antarctica. That's one way of recognizing how the blue whales migrate from one place to another.
Yeah, they have different accents.
Yeah. Exactly. But to the current knowledge, it's not possible to recognize the different individuals, at least, to
our limited ears and technology.
Yeah, I mean, of course, we don't know the call themselves. The sonogram, it looks quite similar. Doesn't make such a big difference which whale it is, and the whole population seems to kind of say in a way say the same thing. But of course, we don't know really if that call contains some information that we just don't realize. I mean, this is of course just a theory, but I don't know. Who knows?
Right. I think they do. They got to communicate, right? They're super smart. How did you come up with this project? I mean, you're like mining data and like making a database, and you go from that to like flying to Sri Lanka and playing with blue whales and listening to their calls. Like that seems like a really big jump. How did you get this idea for this project, and like how did this even come up?
It wasn't entirely my original idea. I got a lot of help from people who had been studying whales before, acoustic professionals. And so this was already kind of a project idea that was sort of there, and it just needed to be sort of taken up and and rewritten and sent in to get some funding. So I did that and got a lot of help to this writing the application, and then we managed to get the project started.
Awesome. Now, how long were you working on this project for?
3 years.
Yeah, PhDs. I don't know if people know this or not. I think it's common knowledge that PhDs take a long time, but then I talk to people who are like, yeah, I'll just go and take my PhD. I'm like, okay, well, your master's can take like 1 to 2 years after your bachelor's degree, right? But then your PhD can take anywhere from another 3 to like 10 years.
Yeah, exactly. So unfortunately, it is also the case in my PhD, because, when you have a project that takes so long, it's just that life happens in between somewhere there, and it causes sometimes delays.
Right. Yeah. So tell me a little bit about that. You mentioned earlier that you weren't even sure that you wanted to get your PhD, and this kind of like organically happened as you're doing your own work. You kind of came up with this project, and that sounded like a lot of fun to study blue whales in that realm. And then you got into your 3 years in your PhD, and you realized like, I have other things happening in my life. I need to pivot a little bit. Could you kind of talk a little bit about like where your head was at, and like what ultimately made your decision to just put a pause on your PhD?
Well, I had 2 kids.
Fair enough.
So yeah, I would say that is one big factor in it. And of course, when you do have 2 kids, it gets life gets a little different. You don't just pack your bags and go to Sri Lanka for a while.
Right. Not when they're babies.
Yeah, I mean, of course, you can do a lot of things with babies. I mean, we do a lot of things with our babies and have done a lot of traveling, but it's somehow the hours in the day seem to get less.
Yes, absolutely. I get that. So you kind of paused on your PhD and you pivoted a little bit, and the ocean was still calling and the boats were still calling, and you've created your own entrepreneurial endeavor, combining both of these loves still and involving your family. And I love it so much. So could you chat a little bit about Napaland, and how do you pronounce your boat's name? Is it beer?
Beer.
Beer,
yeah.
I like it. What does that mean?
It means a good sailing wind, or a good drive, you could say also. If you have a good drive in your endeavor, that's beer behind you.
Oh, I like that. That's great. So a good sailing wind.
Yeah.
Too. Could you tell me a little bit how, did you have this boat before you decided to start your own company, taking people out in the ocean, getting them excited about it? Or was it kind of like, we're going to do this and now we need to find a boat?
Yeah, so the boat itself is, my husband has had this kind of a sailing business in Iceland for a long time. For about 15 years, he has been exploring the coast of Greenland and Iceland there. And yeah, I suppose with all kinds of family changes, and now also partly due to COVID, we had the need to rearrange our operation a little bit. There used to be 2 boats, and now one of these boats was sold along this previous brand that we had, and we decided to keep our beloved beer in the family and continue with a little bit of a smaller family operation, and that is Napaland. So it is kind of mine and my husband's expertise brought together in one boat.
Yes. I really love that there was so much thought going into the name of Napaland, because anybody in the US hears Napa and they're like, Napa Valley, I don't get it. But in your part of the world, it means something totally different. Could you explain what Napaland is?
Yeah, so Napa, the word, it's a really nice word. It could mean, for example, the center of the universe. Both the poles, so the North Pole and the South Pole, are called the Napa. It is in principle like a pole or something that is central. Mm-hmm. Also, the human belly button is called Napa. so it is the center of everything.
Yeah.
But we chose it because it has this Arctic feeling due to the North and South Pole. And we somehow wanted to have a name that is not tied to a certain country or location, that it's somehow pan-Arctic, pan-Northern.
Yeah, very cool. I love the thought behind that. I think it's great. I also like Napa for belly button. That's great. I'm learning all these fun words I'm going to start incorporating in my everyday life. Beer, Napa for belly button. Great.
Yeah.
You take people out on your boat and you cruise around both Finland and Iceland, correct?
Yeah, we would like to take people out to the places that we love, places that we feel somehow at home in. And so, as I said, that's my husband has been in northern Iceland and eastern Greenland pretty much his whole sailing career, exploring. I would say that he's probably the person who has sailed the most on this coast of Greenland.
Oh wow, that's incredible.
Exploring it. And I'm from the Finnish archipelago, and this is something that I love. And we wanted to somehow have this operation that is moving between these 2 places.
Mm-hmm. Very cool. How big is beer?
Beer is about 18 meters long.
Okay.
About as big as a humpback whale.
About as big as a humpback whale. I like that comparison. Very cool.
Yeah. We can take 12 guests. We have cabins for 12 people in addition to our own crew cabin.
Awesome. Now, do you take the whole family when you take guests too?
Yeah, we have done actually a lot of trips where our kids were with us. Our older daughter has been to Greenland with us already in 2 seasons.
And how old is she?
Oh, she's 3.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. Little sailor babies. That's awesome.
Yeah, it is. It's an important thing. Or we decided that if we want to do this as a family, we need to start it immediately, because that's how you sort of grow into it.
Right.
Together. It would be a lot more difficult to get into it when the kids are a little bit older and they are maybe not so used to this kind of environment.
Right. No, that's true. That's very true. I was looking at some of the pictures, and well, one, the scenery is just outstanding. It's beautiful up there. Two, I was like looking at some of your, action shots with Beata, and there's like big waves, and all you can see is a mast and like the beginning of the bow. And I'm like, that's not warm water. I don't know about that.
Yeah, I think there's a few pictures from some storms, which are luckily maybe from the previous owners.
Okay.
Fingers crossed. We have never yet been in a proper storm with our ship and the kids there. I mean, we have seen some rough weather,
right?
of course, but these days the weather forecasts, they are really quite accurate. About 3 days forwards, I think it's getting really, really quite reliable. Of course, there's a small chance that the weather could be something completely different from the forecast. But generally, if you are alert and if you follow the forecasts, you don't necessarily have to be in horrible weather. These days, you can sort of choose around it.
Yeah, it's amazing. Technology. I mean, sometimes it's a curse, but oh my goodness, the things that it allows us to do and predict and like work around, it's amazing.
Yeah, and of course, mostly it's just about having enough time to wait it out.
That's true too. Yeah, so let's talk about that a little bit. So you have guests on your boat, and like you're not just like, okay, welcome to the boat. Like, I'm not going to talk to you. We're just going to sail the boat, right? So like, what is that like having guests on your boat? You are a marine scientist. So are you talking to them about like what you're seeing? Kind of what are you guys doing?
Yeah, anything really that people are interested in. That is somehow the beauty about being on a ship like this, and depending on the environment that we are in, you can do and see so many things. And that's maybe something that it would be nice if people realize that, like, if you're looking at some kind of sailing holidays, then like it's not really exactly what we are doing. Yes, we have a sailing boat and we use the sails to get from one place to another, but that's not really the whole point. We are not doing this kind of Volvo ocean race type of sailing where you go in crazy weather and you're the whole time just holding on to your life. We like to think that our ship is sort of a movable backcountry hut that takes us to beautiful places. And the whole point is to experience these places and use the sails, which is it's an environmental friendly, it's a sensible way to move around if you're on a ship.
Yeah.
Maybe we see some whales, and I have actually given some sort of whale biology lectures to people if they're really interested in the whales, and talked a little bit about the whales' communication and their sounds and all that. So it is definitely something that we like. We want to combine our knowledge and what we're interested in and what the people, our guests, are interested in.
Yeah, that is so cool. I love it. I love this concept so much. You do some science communication in addition to what you talk about on Beer with, I might butcher the name, Finnish Geospatial Research Institute. Could you chat a little bit about that?
Yeah, currently also now that I am in Finland, I am working at the Finnish Geospatial Research Institute, FGI, and we have some projects that have to do with the coastal zone or, with marine areas, but mainly it is technological research. So, it's about remote sensing.
What does that mean? Let's break that down a little bit. What is remote sensing?
Remote sensing could be something that you see from the satellites. So it's analyzing, for example, satellite images. But the research that they do at the FGI is also about this new technology, LIDAR and laser scanning, which is getting, maybe people know it a little bit more now since it is getting into these new phones. They have this LIDAR that you can make all kinds of 3D models of your own home or items. But basically, LIDAR is something that you can use for all kinds of remote sensing operations. So our department, they put these LIDAR scanners and different kinds of remote sensing scanners on all possible mobile platforms like drones and boats and autonomous cars. And it's really, really interesting field of research to be in, and being able to communicate about it to people. And it is getting easier now, because like a few years back, everybody was like, laser scanning, what is that?
And now people know more about it. So when you communicate about it, are you just kind of like, I mean, science communication, right? It's taking the research and distilling it down into bite-sized chunks that normal people can understand. What did you call it earlier? Everyday people speak?
Yeah, normal people's language.
Normal people language. Yes, that's a great way to put it. So what are some of the more interesting projects that you kind of help like break down and push into the public realm?
Well, I suppose in our department, they do a lot of research about what kinds of things they can see from trees in a forest.
Okay.
So if you fly a drone either above or through a forest, and this drone has different kinds of sensors on it, they are trying to find out what kind of things you can actually learn from the trees just with these sensors. For example, they do research about if you use these sensors to see something from the trees, if you could recognize certain pests or effects of drought on the trees just from above, even before you somehow see that the trees or the forest is suffering, that maybe you could see it by remote sensing. Because, in Finland, we have a lot of forests. So if you would go there in person and check, like, how is this forest doing? Is it a healthy forest or not healthy forest? It takes forever. But if you can do the same thing with the modern sensors and by flying a drone above or inside the forest, then it saves a lot of time, and you can get a lot of information that is already in kind of a analyzable form.
Yeah, very cool. That's really neat. As we kind of wrap up here, I have a few questions. One, and you're gonna be the first person I ask this to, so no pressure. What does the ocean mean to you?
Wow, that's a difficult question. It means community. It is interesting because the ocean is so vast, but in any case, if you live by the ocean, you're still somehow connected to everybody else who also lives by the ocean.
Yeah.
So that's really the bigger community related to the sea. And then, because I am a sailor and I love being on these sailing ships, especially the ones who have a little bit bigger crew. And that is a really special experience of community, to be in a boat together with a random selection of people, different ages, different backgrounds. And you are somehow so tightly together that you really have to get to know each other. And you get to see people somehow, the good sides and their, if it's stormy, if it's really windy or something, then how people deal with that. I feel like you really get to know the people so much better when you're at sea in a boat. And you learn so much about yourself also, how you get along with the people around you and how you learn how to act in this little community.
Yeah, I love that. It's a great one. If you were given a blank check with unlimited funds, what project would you want to use it for? Project or projects? I had somebody who was like, I have to pick one. So up to 3 if you can't narrow it down to 1.
Definitely something in the Arctic.
Yeah.
We have been dreaming about some mapping projects in the Arctic because, of course, it is getting more and more people are going there, even to these sort of remote areas on the coast of Greenland, all over the Arctic, really. I think if I had unlimited funds, I would like to go and do some really this kind of explorer type mapping.
Yeah.
I think that would be really nice. I'm not entirely sure which area exactly I would like to go and chart.
I like that. Arctic mapping to just kind of see and monitoring, I'm assuming, right? So just being able to go back and kind of see over a few years what it's doing and what changes are happening.
Yeah, monitoring stories are nice in the way that you get to go back in the really nice places.
Right. I like that. So you mean kind of ice mapping?
Maybe depth mapping.
Depth. Okay.
Yeah. That would be interesting.
Yeah, that would be interesting. Kind of looking at the bottom a little bit and seeing what changes happen. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, my personal, very favorite question to ask. What is your favorite field story or stories to tell? And this could be just an epic day out in the field, when you're doing your whale research in Sri Lanka, or an awesome field story. And it could be just the most perfect day and everything was amazing. And it's your favorite field story to tell because it's just an idyllic day. Or it could just be it was a day where things happened and it makes a really great story now.
Well, I say that one kind of a funny incident from the field in Sri Lanka was that we had sometimes a fair bit of all kinds of delays doing field work. I think this is familiar to any scientists doing field work, that there's a lot of things that can happen.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe the strangest thing was a warning that there was some space junk, pieces of a satellite or something like that were going to land exactly in the area where we were supposed to go on a boat, and exactly at the same time.
What?
Yeah, I know. I was reading about it and I was like, what are the odds? Now that finally is the day when we're supposed to go, there's going to be satellites falling from the sky.
So did you go, or were you just well, we'll go visit that site tomorrow when we're not going to be hit by space things?
I don't remember exactly if that was exactly the reason why we delayed it, but in any case, we went the next day. Which was nice, it would necessarily not be nice to be out there in a boat and thinking that oh.
The sky is falling. Yeah, no, that wouldn't be ideal.
No.
Yeah, that's a crazy story. I mean, field story, just the weirdest things happen, I feel and you just can't make it up. The sky is going to fall on you. Awesome. So at the end of each episode, I like to leave the audience with a conservation ask to go forth and bring into the world. And you have a really great one. What would you like my audience to take from your episode today?
Both in Napaland and in the previous sailing endeavors that I've done, we have visited a lot of places in the world which are very remote, so remote that they feel almost untouched. Of course, it's not easy to find places anymore in the world which are places where nobody had been ever before. Mm. But it's really special to be somewhere where there's only maybe a few people who go there, or even maybe you go someplace where the last person who visited there went there 10 years ago or 50 years ago or something like that. And there's something really special about that. And I guess the take-home message that I would like to say out loud is that when you go to a place where you get that feeling that wow, I really feel like nobody has been here before, or not many have been here before, then those are the special places that we should really leave to be as they are. And it's difficult because I really think that we people have some kind of really deep-rooted need to leave our mark somehow. Mm-hmm. To the places where we are, be it, maybe you want to build a little cairn, or you want to leave something behind, or or maybe take something with you. And that is something that we could all somehow actively try to avoid, something that we should we should try to work together to save these places that are special because they are so remote and so untouched.
Yeah, it's a great ask and a great point. We seem to have crept into all tiny nooks and crannies on the planet. I talked to somebody that found an aluminum beer can in like a very remote passage in Alaska in like hundreds of feet of water. So we're just kind of crept into these places, and it's a good point to just be mindful of where you are and the impact that you're leaving behind.
Yeah, and of course there's this level where I think it almost should be obvious that not leaving trash behind, but also this changing the environment in some way where that makes it obvious that it was somehow human impact on it.
Right.
What I really love is places where it's really, you get this feeling that like, this is natural, this is untouched.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, love it. If listeners want to find you, connect with you, learn more about you or beer and Napaland, where is the best place to do so?
You could follow us on Instagram. That is maybe the most sort of up-to-date. Try to put there some news and pictures continuously. So it's at Visit Napaland. And we also have a website, visitnapaland.com, that you could go and check out.
Great. I'll put a link to that and everything we chat about in the show notes for today's episode.
Thank you. Yeah, so hopefully now that the world is slowly opening, there will be some nice adventures to come next summer.
Yes, I'm keen to come out.
Yeah.
I want to come see these places. I'll just bundle up real well.
Yeah, I would. So that is really my dream, to have some kind of a marine biology related project on board of our ship. You know, I love doing tourism, and it's something that is so special that you get to give people this experience that they maybe come after the day and tell you that like, oh my God, this was like the most impressive day of this whole year or my life even. And this is something that doesn't happen in academia so often. As you said, you know, the projects are so long. You maybe work on something for 3 years and then you maybe get something done and it's like, yay.
Right.
But it has a different feeling to
Absolutely.
being actually out there.
Absolutely. So you want a marine science project on the boat?
Yes, that would be perfect.
Cool. Well, we'll have to check back in and see how that's going in a little bit.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Well, Annukka, thank you so much for being on the show today. I really enjoyed our chat.
Thank you. Yeah, I enjoyed it too.
Hey, one more thing. Do you want to dive more into the ocean and marine biology? Need a little guidance on ocean conservation? Head on over to marinebio.life/resources. We've got book recommendations, job posting pages, conference suggestions, and ocean-friendly products. All recommendations have been personally vetted by me, and I will continue to add to the collection as I come across cool things to share. Head on over to marinebio.life/resources to learn more. See you over there. Thank you for listening to today's show. I'd love to hear any insight you've gleaned. Leave a comment in the show notes or send me an email over at marinebio.life. If you enjoyed this episode, leave a review and of course, share with your friends. If you want more resources for ocean news, including conservation topics and careers, plus personal insight from me that I just don't share anywhere else, join me at marinebio.life and sign up for email updates. Keep after your dreams and making waves in your community. One person can make a difference. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll catch you next time on the So You Want to Be a Marine Biologist podcast.